Today, we were looking at the complete history of Marvel Comics and all their publications dated September 1964. This month, their number of titles is starting to increase, especially in the superhero genre. We have 11 titles to look at today. We're going to look at the rarity, the historical importance, and the price increases of all of these books, starting with Amazing Spider-Man number 16. This was the 171st Marvel Silver Age superhero comic they published since starting in 1961. And in this issue, we have Daredevil's first crossover in this classic battle issue. Looking at the CGC census, you can see copies are rapidly growing. We now have almost 1,800 copies graded by CGC, with 22 grading 9.6 or higher. And Heritage has sold almost 400 copies since the year 2000. Kind of a cream white background cover. Using the Overstreet annual price guide, we can see a lengthy time period here, and we can compare the prices and growth of all conditions. So looking at the lowest grades, grading at 2.0 raw, we can see the book has not doubled in this long time period. In higher grades, the book has just doubled raw. Of course, go to ebay.com and look up sold listings to see what the super high grade CGC copies are selling for, and also gpanalysis.com. On the census overall, there are 7 9.8s and 15 9.6s, and there are a few of the UK price variants graded, but the highest is an 8.5. Also on the stands this month, we get Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1. And this shows really how Marvel is starting to expand. They're starting to give us special features. Now they're starting to do reprint issues. And here's one of their giant 72-page annuals with a 41-page epic featuring Spider-Man and the Sinister Six. On the census, this book has really broken out in the last few years. Over 1,600 copies graded. There are 10 9.6s or higher, and 313 sold by Heritage. Another cream white background cover. We've got some really big villains on the cover, so this is a key for sure. And looking at Overstreet, you can see there's a bit more demand for this book. The book has gone up 2.5 times in lowest grades and has quadrupled in higher grades raw. On the census, there are 5 9.8s and 5 9.6s. Also worthy of note, there is a Canadian edition of this annual, and the main difference is that it has a blank back cover. Only 50 of those ones have ever been graded, and the highest is a 9.2. So quite scarce to find. There's a few out there on the market if you want to collect this early Marvel variant edition. Also on the newsstands today, we have Avengers number 8. This book is a major key lately. It's the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror, and art and cover by Jack Kirby. Print run estimated at 200,000 copies. White background cover on this 12-cent book. And again, the CGC census has gone crazy in the last few years. We now have almost 1,700 copies. There's only 18 9.6s or better. Heritage has sold over 200 copies. Overstreet price guide, you can see the book has been a slow riser every year until this very year. The book is actually doubled in a single year in lowest grades. And that has also happened in the higher grades. So looking at this time period, we can see the book has gone up 5 times in value in low grades and an incredible 8 times increase in higher grades raw. On the census, there are only 4 9.8s and 14 9.6s. The UK price variant, there's a few of them out there. The highest grading, a 9.0. The next book that was also on the stands this month was Fantastic Four number 30, featuring the first appearance of Diablo with Jack Kirby cover art. Print run estimated at 300,000 copies. Popularity of this title was really increasing at this time, along with Spider-Man. Sort of a grayish background cover on this book. CGC census is quite low on this title, however. Less than 500 copies graded, only 12 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 105 copies. Overstreet price guide has had very little movement on this book, especially in lower grades. Book has not even doubled, and you can see it actually stalled for an entire decade in lower grades. And it's just starting to have a little bump up this past year again. In higher grades raw, it has a little more than doubled. On the census, we have two 9.8s, 10 9.6s, only a couple of the UK price variants graded, the highest being a 9.0. Fantastic Four Annual number 2 came out, still one of the earliest superhero annuals from Marvel Comics. And this one is another square-bound giant, 72 big pages, 25-cent cover price when comics were regularly 12 cents. On the census, it's still pretty low, 576 copies with only 9 super high-grade copies. 153 sold at Heritage. This is a nice classic Dr. Doom cover with a creamy white background. In Overstreet, it hasn't had a lot of movement over this time period, but it has more than doubled in higher grades raw. There is only one 9.8 of this book and 8 9.6s. And again, there is a rare Canadian edition with the blank back cover. Only 35 copies graded, the highest being a 9.2. Journey into Mystery 108 features the Mighty Thor. And this book features an early Avengers and Doctor Strange crossover. And we've also got a Loki cover appearance and Jack Kirby cover art on this bright yellow background cover. Not many copies graded, 344, with only 6 9.6s or higher of this book. Heritage has sold 58. And this book has doubled in low grades over this time period and tripled in higher grades raw. There are only 2 9.8s, 4 9.6s, only 3 of the UK price variants graded, the highest being an 8.0. Next, we have Sgt Fury and his Howling Commandos, number 10. And of course, we include this war book only because Sgt Fury does eventually become part of the Marvel superhero universe. This is the first appearance of Captain Savage in this issue. We have a Jack Kirby cover art. Print run estimated at 225,000 copies. The sales of all Marvel titles at this point were in late 1964, and sales are really starting to grow. The Marvel is really building a cult following at this time. Definitely you can tell that's Jack Kirby cover art. Very few copies graded, however, of this book, only 107 in total, with 3 9.6 or higher. Heritage sold 34. Overstreet, very little movement. This is a very affordable key issue to get. Almost no movement at all in low grades. It's only gone up $3 in 17 years. Hard to believe, but it has more than doubled in high grades raw. There is only 1 9.8 and 2 9.6s. Only one of the UK price variant ever graded, and it is a 6.0. Next in our list, we're just going alphabetically. Strange Tales 124. The Thing becomes the Human Torch's regular co-star, and the two battle Paste Pot Pete. Dick Ayers and Steve Ditko cover art. Again, not many copies graded by CGC, only 146, with 4 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 45 copies ever. Nice action cover. Overstreet, this is a very cheap book. $13 still in lower grades raw. It's basically doubled in this time period. And it's tripled in high grade raw, but still under $300 for a 9.2 raw. Very affordable book. There are no 9.8s in existence of this book. There are 4 9.6s. No UK price variants graded at all of this book. Next, we have a major key book for the month, Tales of Suspense 57. This is the origin and first appearance of Hawkeye, and even an appearance by Black Widow. Don Heck did the cover art for this one. The Watcher has a backup feature with Larry Lieber art. Print run estimated at 207,000 copies of this book. Again, the census has gone crazy lately with this book. Hawkeye getting his own TV show and, of course, appearing in the Avengers. 1,600 copies graded, only 16 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 150. This has a white background cover, very hard to find in any decent condition. Black Widow even featured on the cover at the bottom. In the Overstreet price guide, this book has really exploded in the last 5 years. Therefore, over this time period, you can see that the book has gone up 6 times increase in low grades. And in high grades, it has gone up an amazing 11 times. So that's a huge amount of increase right there. If we keep going, we'll see that this book has 4 9.8s and 12 9.6s. A bunch of the UK price variants graded, but the highest is an 8.0. Also out this month, we have Tales to Astonish 59. This is Hulk's first appearance in this title, which he would take over every issue as the headliner until he got his own series with the renaming of the series. Jack Kirby cover art on this cream white background cover. The Hulk battles Giant Man. Only 520 copies graded by CGC. There are 10 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 95. Overstreet, this is still quite an affordable book, especially in lower grades. The book has only gone up a little bit over this time period. In higher grades, the book has gone up double in price. On the census, there are 2 9.8s and 8 9.6s. Only a couple UK price variants graded, the highest being an 8.5. And finally, on the newsstands as well this month, the bi-monthly title, X-Men. And we have number 7 featuring Magneto, the Blob, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Jack Kirby cover art. And this one's starting to really grow on the census as well. Over 1,100 copies graded, but only 7 9.6s or higher. 240 at Heritage sold. Solid red background cover. Lots of the key players on this cover, including, is that not Scarlet Witch on the cover? And looking at the Overstreet price guide over this time period, you can see it's actually had very little growth in low grades. And in high grades, it's basically doubled. And on the census, there are no 9.8s of this book, but there are 7 9.6s, only a few of the UK price variants, the highest grading an 8.0. Now what we're going to do is we're going to compare all these books on the CGC census just to see which ones are the most common, which ones are the rarest, and we'll see if we've noticed any interesting facts here. So the book with the most copies graded on the entire list is Amazing Spider-Man 16 because it's the most collected title of the time, almost 1,800 copies. Right behind it, we have Avengers 8 with almost 1,700, Amazing Spider-Man Annual 1 with almost 1,700, and Tales of Suspense 57 with almost 1,700. Those are the major key books of the month. On the opposite end, of course, Sgt Fury has the lowest amount because it's a war title. But after that, it's Strange Tales 124 with a surprisingly low 146 copies. And Journey into Mystery 108 with only 344 copies. Looking at the highest grades, we'll note that Strange Tales 124 and X-Men number 7 do not have a single 9.8. So if we combine the 9.8s and 9.6s, we'll see that the rarest books on this list are Sgt Fury number 10, and Strange Tales 124, having very few super high grade copies graded. There you go. All the Marvel superhero key issues of September 1964. We do this series every week. Please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.